The derisive discovery. In a distant galaxy, the Xyloran, an advanced alien race, drifted through space aboard their sleek starship. They were on a routine mission, scanning ancient ruins and forgotten artifacts for their research. The Xyloran were known for their cutting-edge technology and highly developed civilization. Their interest in the past was more about understanding their own history rather than the remnants of lesser species. One day, during a routine scan of a distant star system, their sensors detected something unusual. Amidst the space debris, hidden under layers of cosmic dust and debris, was a massive object. Intrigued, the Xyloran directed their ship closer to investigate. As they approached, the object became clearer. It was an old human warship, its design ancient and out of place among the advanced technology the Xyloran were used to. The ship's hull was covered in a thick layer of space grime, and its once shiny metal was now dull and corroded. It looked like a giant battered relic from a bygone age. The Xyloran scientists aboard the ship gathered around, their curiosity piqued. They activated their scanning equipment to examine the warship. The initial readings were fascinating. Despite its age, the ship's energy readings were still active, albeit weak. This was unusual. Most ships of this era would have long since powered down. The lead scientist, Dr. Vrax, a tall figure with luminescent blue skin and an air of arrogance, led the discussion. "What an amusing find," Vrax said, his voice tinged with mockery. "An ancient human warship. It looks like it belongs in a museum, not in the middle of space." The other Xyloran scientists chuckled. The ship's appearance, with its rusty exterior and primitive design, seemed laughable to them. They couldn't imagine how a vessel like this could have ever been a threat. To them, it was nothing more than a historical curiosity. The Xyloran crew maneuvered their ship closer and prepared to board the old warship. They donned their spacesuits and made their way through the airlock, stepping into the dimly lit interior of the human vessel. The inside was just as outdated as the outside. The control panels were covered in dust, and the once advanced technology was now obsolete by Xyloran standards. As they explored the ship, their laughter echoed through the empty corridors. "Look at this," one of the scientists said, pointing at a control console with outdated buttons and levers. "This is practically a relic of the Stone Age." Vrax approached the central command deck, where the ship's main controls were located. The console was massive, covered in blinking lights and old-fashioned gauges. He tried to interact with it, but most of the systems were unresponsive. The ship had clearly seen better days. "It's amazing how primitive they were," Vrax said, shaking his head. "They must have been quite desperate to use such technology in their time." The Xyloran team continued their exploration, occasionally making jokes about the ship's outdated design. Their amusement grew as they found more outdated systems and primitive weapons. The idea that such a ship had once been part of a powerful fleet seemed laughable to them. Unbeknownst to the Xyloran, the human warship was not as powerless as it appeared. Deep within the ship's core, dormant systems were slowly reactivating. The ship's AI, long dormant, was beginning to awaken. It had been waiting for this moment, for someone to come and trigger its revival. Meanwhile, back on the Xyloran starship, the scientists continued their examination of the warship. They were cataloging their findings, documenting every detail of the old technology. Their data would be valuable for understanding the history of the human race, even if they saw no practical use for it. As they worked, a low hum began to fill the warship. It was faint at first, but it grew louder as the dormant systems came online. The Xyloran were so engrossed in their mockery that they didn't notice the subtle changes happening around them. The ship's lights flickered on, and the control consoles started to glow with a renewed energy. The Xyloran's laughter began to die down as they noticed the changes. "What's happening?" Vrax asked, his tone now tinged with concern. The once dormant systems of the warship were coming to life, and the old warship was slowly awakening from its long slumber. The Xyloran watched in shock as the ship's weapons systems began to power up and the engines roared with life. What had been a source of amusement was now turning into something they could not ignore. Amusement had turned into apprehension as they realized they had underestimated the power of the old vessel. The ancient human warship was no longer just a forgotten artifact. It was a potential threat that demanded their full attention. As the hum of the reawakening ship grew louder, the Xyloran began to understand that their laughter had been premature. They had stumbled upon something far more significant than they had anticipated, and the consequences of their discovery were just beginning to unfold. And so, the stage was set for a dramatic turn of events. The old warship, now alive and kicking, was about to make its presence felt in ways the Xyloran could never have imagined. The alien exhibition. The ancient human warship, once a laughingstock of the Xyloran scientists, had become the center of their attention. The Xyloran starship, sleek and advanced, now orbited the warship, its crew excitedly preparing for a new kind of display. What was once dismissed as a relic was now seen as a fascinating piece of ancient technology. Dr. Vrax, the lead scientist who had once mocked the ship, was now deeply intrigued. The warship's systems had come to life, revealing a complex array of technologies that seemed both outdated and surprisingly resilient. The Xyloran scientists gathered in the main control room of their starship, eagerly discussing their next steps. "We need to showcase this discovery," Vrax announced, his tone a mix of excitement and renewed respect. "Let's set up an exhibition for the rest of the galaxy. They will find this as fascinating as we do." The Xyloran crew got to work, setting up a series of holographic displays and interactive modules to showcase their findings. The warship, now more than just a curiosity, was being presented as a historical marvel. They prepared a detailed analysis of its systems, from its primitive weapons to its archaic propulsion methods. The exhibition was broadcast across several star systems. Alien species from various parts of the galaxy tuned in, curious to see what the Xyloran had discovered. The display began with a grand introduction, highlighting the ship's supposed obsolescence. Vrax took the lead, narrating the presentation with a mixture of pride and condescension. "Behold the ancient human warship," Vrax began, his voice echoing through the display. "A vessel from a bygone era, now a relic of a forgotten age. Its design may seem crude by our standards, but it provides valuable insights into the early stages of human technology." The holographic images showed the warship in detail, its massive, battered hull, the dented armor, and the worn-out weapon systems. The audience watched as the Xyloran scientists pointed out various features, their commentary often dripping with disdain. "Look at these weapons," Vrax continued, pointing to the ship's energy cannons. Primitive in design with minimal power output, they were clearly a desperate attempt at defense, not meant to withstand modern technology. As the exhibition continued, the Xyloran demonstrated the ship's command controls. They showed how the human warship relied on old-fashioned levers and dials, contrasting sharply with the sleek touchscreens and advanced interfaces of Xyloran technology. The aliens laughed as they imagined how humans had once operated these outdated systems. But the most amusing part of the presentation was the ship's AI, which had been reactivated along with the rest of the warship's systems. The AI, designed to be a simple command processor, now struggled to interact with the Xyloran's advanced systems. The Xyloran scientists found its attempts to communicate both comical and endearing. "This AI," Vrax said with a chuckle, "was state-of-the-art in its time. Now it can barely keep up with our technology. Watch as it tries to process our commands." The AI's responses were slow and awkward, leading to more laughter from the Xyloran crew. The contrast between the ancient AI and their own advanced systems was stark and entertaining. However, amid the laughter, the Xyloran scientists began to notice something unusual. The warship's energy levels were fluctuating. The once dormant systems seemed to be responding to the Xyloran's presence. The ship's energy readings, which had been stable, now showed occasional spikes. Dr. Vrax frowned as he observed the data. "Is there something we missed?" he wondered aloud. The Xyloran crew was puzzled, unsure of what was causing the fluctuations. Despite the growing sense of unease, the exhibition continued. The Xyloran highlighted the ship's defensive systems, showing how its outdated shields and armor had been designed to withstand early space battles. The contrast with modern Xyloran defenses was stark, but the historical value of the warship was clear. The audience across the galaxy watched in fascination. Some found the presentation amusing, while others saw it as a reminder of how far technological progress had come. The laughter and mockery from the Xyloran only added to the entertainment value of the show. As the exhibition drew to a close, Vrax and his team prepared to shut down the presentation. The warship's systems, now fully operational, seemed to have settled into a stable state. The Xyloran scientists were ready to return to their normal operations, but the unexpected energy fluctuations had left them with lingering questions. Vrax dismissed the concerns with a wave of his hand. "It's probably just a glitch," he said, trying to reassure his team. "Nothing to worry about. We've seen what we came to see." Little did they know, the warship was far from finished with its surprises. The once dismissed Relic was far more than a historical curiosity. Its systems had been reawakened, and they were starting to show signs of life. The Xyloran's laughter had been premature, and the warship was preparing to reveal its true capabilities. As the exhibition ended, the Xyloran crew began to dismantle their setup, unaware of the brewing storm. The warship, now more than just a relic, was poised to make its presence felt in ways that would soon challenge the Xyloran's perception of ancient human technology. The stage was set for an unexpected confrontation. The ancient warship, once mocked and ridiculed, was about to demonstrate its true power, and the galaxy would soon see that the past was far from forgotten. The unexpected activation. The Xyloran scientists were wrapping up their exhibition, still buzzing from their earlier amusement with the ancient human warship. The grand show had ended, and the warship, now relegated to the back of the starship's hangar, seemed to return to its silent slumber. But beneath its battered exterior, something stirred. Dr. Vrax, the lead scientist, was going over the final data, his thoughts preoccupied with the ship's unusual energy readings. "It's probably nothing," he reassured his team, trying to dismiss the nagging feeling in the back of his mind. "We'll shut down the systems and return to our main research." As the Xyloran crew prepared to power down the warship's systems, a low hum began to emanate from the ship. The sound was faint at first, barely perceptible over the hum of the starship's engines. But it grew louder, resonating through the hangar like a distant thunder. The Xyloran scientists exchanged puzzled glances. "What's that noise?" asked one of the technicians, looking around the hangar with concern. "Didn't we shut everything down?" Dr. Vrax moved to the control panel, trying to identify the source of the noise. "It's coming from the warship," he said, his voice tinged with unease. "Check the power readings." The power levels, which had been stable and low, were now fluctuating wildly. The warship's old energy systems, once thought to be dormant, were coming back to life. Lights flickered on the ship's hull, and a low vibration shook the hangar floor. "Something's wrong," Vrax said, his voice now urgent. "The ship's systems are activating on their own." The Xyloran technicians scrambled to their stations, trying to regain control. But as they worked, the warship's external lights flared brightly. The once muted sensors on the ship began to sweep the hangar, scanning the area with renewed vigor. Inside the warship, the control panels flickered to life. The ship's ancient AI, once sluggish and outdated, began to process the incoming data with surprising speed. Its screens, long dark, now displayed a complex array of information as the AI's systems rebooted. The Xyloran team watched in astonishment as the warship's engines roared to life. The ship's massive thrusters, which had been silent for eons, now ignited with a brilliant blue flame. The hangar shook with the force of the activation, and the Xyloran scientists struggled to keep their footing. "Seal the hangar!" Vrax shouted, his voice barely audible over the roar of the engines. "We need to contain this!" The Xyloran crew raced to seal the hangar doors, but the warship's power continued to surge. The ancient ship, once dismissed as a relic, was now a formidable force in its own right. The AI, now fully operational, began to send out diagnostic signals and commands. In the control room, Vrax's eyes widened as he observed the readings. "The ship's systems are coming online," he said, his voice filled with alarm. "It's as if it's preparing for something." The warship's external cannons, long thought to be obsolete, extended from their storage bays with a series of mechanical whirs. The ancient weapons, though outdated, began to charge, their energy levels rising with an impressive display of power. The Xylaran scientists, who had once laughed at these very weapons, now watched in stunned silence as the ship demonstrated its capabilities. "Seal the hangar doors," Vrax ordered urgently. "We need to contain this before it becomes a serious threat." The Xylaran crew raced to secure the hangar, but the warship's systems were already in motion. The ship's AI, having detected the Xylaran's attempts to control it, responded by reinforcing its defenses. The weapon systems were now fully active, and the energy shields formed a solid barrier around the ship. Outside the hangar, the Xylaran starship's crew could see the warship's thrusters igniting, propelling the vessel with a powerful thrust. The once dismissed Relic was now a formidable presence, its engines roaring and its weapon systems primed for action. In the command center, Vrax and his team were frantically trying to regain control. "We need to figure out how to shut this down," Vrax said, his voice tense. "The warship is demonstrating capabilities we didn't anticipate. The Xylaran technicians worked to override the warship's systems, but the ship's AI was proving difficult to bypass. The AI, designed to be both autonomous and protective, resisted all attempts to disengage its systems. The once simple controls had become a sophisticated network of defensive measures. "Prepare for possible engagement," Vrax said, his tone now serious. "If we can't control the ship, we may have to defend ourselves." The warship's weapons systems began to target the surrounding area, scanning for potential threats. The Xylaran crew, now fully on edge, braced for the possibility of a defensive response. The ship's energy cannons charged, their power levels reaching unprecedented levels. Inside the hangar, the Xylaran technicians continued their efforts to override the systems. The ship's AI responded with a series of diagnostic alerts, indicating that the warship was preparing for a defensive stance. The hangar shook with the force of the ship's engines, and the energy shields flared with intense light. "Can we establish a connection with the AI?" Vrax asked, his voice filled with frustration. "We need to communicate with it and understand its intentions." The technicians worked to establish a link with the AI, but the ship's defensive protocols made it difficult. The AI, though outdated, had been designed to protect the warship from potential threats. It resisted all attempts to breach its systems. Outside the hangar, the warship's engines roared with increasing intensity. The once primitive vessel was now a formidable force, demonstrating power and resilience that the Xylaran had not anticipated. The ship's cannons, once dismissed as outdated, were now a testament to the ingenuity of human technology. As the situation continued to unfold, the Xylaran scientists were left to grapple with the realization that the warship was far from the relic they had thought it to be. The once dismissed vessel had proven itself to be a formidable presence, and its unexpected activation had turned the tide of their perception. The warship's roar echoed through the hangar, a powerful reminder of the ancient technology that lay dormant for so long. The Xylaran, now faced with the reality of the ship's capabilities, could only watch in awe and apprehension as the once mocked relic demonstrated its true power. The galactic response, the news of the reactivation of the ancient human warship, spread like wildfire through the galaxy. The once dismissed relic had become a sensation, capturing the attention of every major galactic power. From the prosperous planets of the Lothrians to the cold reaches of the Varkar Empire, everyone was eager to understand the implications of this unexpected event. Reverting to standby mode, the AI announced, its voice a mix of mechanical and human tones. "Systems check complete. Recalibrating energy levels." The warship's weapon systems, once thought to be obsolete, powered up with a series of mechanical clicks and whirs. The ancient cannons, buried deep within the ship's hull, extended and began to charge. The Xylaran scientists, who had laughed at these very weapons, now stared in horror at their sudden activation. "Shut it down," Vrax ordered desperately. "We can't let it fire." The technicians scrambled to override the systems, but the warship's defenses were already coming online. The energy shields, though outdated, formed a protective barrier around the ship. The Xylaran attempts to control the ship were met with resistance as the warship's AI secured its systems. Outside the hangar, the Xylaran starship's crew watched in disbelief. The energy readings from the warship were off the charts. and the once humorous display had turned into a serious threat. The warship's engines roared louder, and the ship's hull began to emit a faint but ominous glow. "Prepare for immediate evacuation," Vrax said, his voice now calm but tense. "We need to get out of here before the ship does any real damage." The Xylaran crew quickly evacuated the hangar, leaving the warship to its own devices. The hangar doors sealed shut behind them, but the vibrations from the warship's activation could still be felt throughout the starship. The crew watched from a safe distance as the warship continued its unexpected display of power. Inside the hangar, the warship's systems stabilized. The ancient AI, now fully operational, began to run a series of self-diagnostics. The ship's engines hummed steadily, and the weapon systems retracted into their storage bays. The energy shields flickered before powering down, and the ship returned to a dormant state. The Xylaran scientists, still shaken by the events, regrouped in their command center. The warship, once a symbol of ridicule, had proven its resilience and power. The unexpected activation had revealed the ship's capabilities in a way that no one could have anticipated. "What just happened?" asked one of the technicians, his voice filled with awe. "How did the warship come back online like that?" Vrax, still grappling with the situation, could only offer a stunned reply. "It seems that we underestimated the warship's systems. It was dormant, but it had the ability to reactivate itself. We need to reassess our approach." The Xylaran crew was left to ponder the implications of the warship's unexpected activation. The Relic, once mocked and dismissed, had demonstrated its true potential. The galaxy would soon learn that the ancient human warship was far from forgotten, and its reawakening marked the beginning of a new chapter in the ongoing saga of human ingenuity and resilience. The warship roars to life. The Xylaran scientists, still reeling from the unexpected activation of the ancient human warship, watched from their starship's command center. The hum of the warship's engines had ceased, and the immediate danger seemed to have passed. But the uneasy silence that followed was deceptive. The warship, once thought to be dormant, was far from finished. Dr. Vrax, his face pale from the earlier events, was trying to regain control of the situation. "We need to figure out what just happened," he said, his voice steady but filled with concern. "The ship's systems are still active, and we have to understand what triggered this." The Xylaran crew, anxious and alert, began to scan the warship's readings. The ship's power levels had stabilized, but the data showed fluctuations that hinted at more activity beneath the surface. The once dismissed Relic was proving to be far more complex than anticipated. Meanwhile, inside the warship, the AI continued its diagnostic routines. The ship's systems, now fully operational, had regained their functions. The AI processed data and adjusted the ship's systems, preparing for any potential threats. It was clear that the warship had a level of autonomy and defensive capability that the Xylaran had underestimated. As the Xylaran team worked to analyze the ship's status, the warship began to make its presence felt. The engines roared back to life with a powerful thrust, shaking the hangar with renewed force. The ship's massive thrusters flared, sending waves of energy through the surrounding space. "Something's happening," one of the technicians shouted, pointing to the energy readings. "The engines are powering up again!" The Xylaran crew scrambled to stabilize the situation. The ship's energy shields flickered back into existence, creating a protective barrier around the warship. The once muted lights on the ship's hull blazed brightly, casting an eerie glow across the hangar. Once dismissed, Relic had become a catalyst for change, and its impact would be felt across the stars. The turning point. The situation in the Xylaran starship's hangar had reached a critical point. The once dormant human warship was now fully operational, its engines roaring and weapon systems charged. The Xylaran scientists had been struggling to contain the situation, but the warship's unexpected activation had left them with few options. Dr. Vrax stood at the command center, staring at the chaotic scenes unfolding on the monitors. The hangar, once a controlled environment, was now a scene of turmoil. The warship's defensive systems were fully engaged, its energy shields forming a formidable barrier. The cannons, though ancient, were primed and ready. "Can we get any communication through to the ship's AI?" Vrax asked, his voice tense and filled with frustration. We need to understand what it's doing and why. The technicians, working frantically at their consoles, shook their heads. The AI is blocking all attempts at communication. It seems to be in a heightened defensive state. As the Xylaran crew grappled with their failed attempts to control the warship outside the hangar, the galactic response began to take shape. The news of the warship's activation had spread quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. The once dismissed Relic had become a topic of intense interest and concern. The Galactic Council, alerted to the situation, convened an emergency meeting to discuss the implications. Representatives from various planets and star systems gathered to assess the threat posed by the newly reactivated warship. The human warship has demonstrated capabilities we did not anticipate, said Chancellor Zorla, the head of the Galactic Council. We must understand its potential before it poses a greater threat. The council members debated the best course of action. Some argued for immediate military intervention to neutralize the threat, while others suggested a diplomatic approach to understand the ship's intentions. The discussion was heated, reflecting the gravity of the situation. Back on the Xylaran starship, Vrax and his team continued their efforts to regain control. The warship's systems were now fully engaged, and its presence was a constant reminder of its power. The once dismissed Relic had become a symbol of unexpected strength and resilience. We need to find a way to shut down the warship, Vrax said, his voice filled with determination. If we can't control it, we may have to find another solution. The Xylaran technicians continued their attempts to override the ship's systems. They worked through complex codes and protocols, trying to find a way to communicate with the AI or disable its defenses. The warship's energy levels were fluctuating, adding to the complexity of their efforts. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council decided to send a delegation to the Xylaran starship to assess the situation firsthand. The delegation, led by Ambassador Jorik, was composed of experts in human technology and military strategy. Their mission was to understand the warship's capabilities and determine the best course of action. As the delegation arrived at the Xylaran starship, Vrax and his team briefed them on the current status. Ambassador Jorik, a seasoned diplomat with a keen understanding of human technology, listened intently. The warship's activation is indeed a turning point, Jorik said. We need to approach this with caution. The human technology may be more advanced than we realized. The delegation worked closely with the Xylaran scientists, sharing their knowledge of human technology and strategies. They examined the warship's systems and tried to establish a connection with the AI. The goal was to understand the ship's intentions and find a way to neutralize any potential threat. As the hours passed, the situation began to stabilize. The warship's systems, though still active, were no longer in a heightened defensive state. The energy shields flickered intermittently, and the cannons retracted back into their storage bays. It was clear that the ship's AI was still operational, but its immediate threat had been reduced. The Xylaran scientists and the galactic delegation continued their efforts to understand the warship's capabilities. They discovered that the ship's systems were highly advanced despite its age. The technology was far beyond what the Xylaran had anticipated, revealing a level of human ingenuity and resilience that had been underestimated. The ship's AI is sophisticated, Jorik said, examining the data. It's designed to protect and preserve the warship, but it also has the ability to adapt and respond to threats. This is a testament to human engineering. With this new understanding, the Galactic Council began to formulate a plan to address the situation. The focus shifted from immediate containment to long-term strategies for dealing with the warship and its implications. Back on the Xylaran starship, Vrax and his team prepared for the next steps. The warship, once a symbol of derision, had proven itself to be a formidable force. Its activation had been a turning point, reshaping the perception of human technology and its impact on the galaxy. The unexpected activation of the warship had set off a chain of events that would forever alter the galactic landscape. The once dismissed Relic had demonstrated its true power, and the galaxy was now faced with the challenge of understanding and adapting to this new reality. The new status quo. The once ordinary Xylaran starship had become the center of a galactic event of unprecedented significance. The reactivation of the human warship, once dismissed as a relic, had shifted the dynamics across the galaxy. As the Galactic Council and various factions reassessed their strategies, a new status quo began to take shape. Inside the Xylaran starship, the mood had shifted from panic to cautious optimism. Dr. Vrax and his team, having worked tirelessly to stabilize the situation, were now focused on integrating the insights gained from the warship. The galactic delegation, led by Ambassador Jorik, had remained on board to collaborate with the Xylaran scientists and share their expertise. The warship, though no longer in a heightened state of alert, remained an active and formidable presence. Its systems were fully operational, and its advanced technology continued to intrigue the scientists. The ship's AI, having been reprogrammed to cooperate with the current situation, was now providing valuable data about its functions and capabilities. Dr. Vrax reviewed the latest data from the warship's systems. "The ship's energy output is stable," he said, his voice carrying a note of relief. "It's clear that the technology is far more advanced than we initially thought. The AI's responses indicate a level of sophistication we need to fully understand." Ambassador Jorik, examining the data with keen interest, nodded. "This warship represents a significant leap in human technology. Its defensive capabilities and energy systems are unlike anything we've encountered. We must approach this with the respect it deserves." The Galactic Council, having reviewed the situation, had issued new directives. The focus had shifted from immediate containment to long-term integration and study. The Council recognized the importance of understanding the warship's technology and its implications for the galaxy. A new research initiative was launched, involving experts from various planets and star systems. The goal was to study the warship's technology in depth and explore its potential applications. The Xylaran scientists, along with the galactic delegation, were tasked with leading this effort. "The warship's technology could have far-reaching implications," said Chancellor Zorla in a broadcast to the galaxy. "We must ensure that we handle this discovery responsibly and learn from it for the benefit of all." As the research initiative got underway, the warship became a symbol of both technological advancement and caution. It was clear that the ship's capabilities were a double-edged sword, offering immense power while also presenting potential risks. On the Xylaran starship, Vrax and his team continued their efforts to integrate the warship's technology. They worked alongside galactic experts to analyze the ship's systems, studying its energy output, defensive measures, and weaponry. The research was meticulous, with each discovery leading to new insights and questions. "We're learning a great deal about human technology," Vrax said, his tone reflecting a mix of awe and determination. "The warship systems are incredibly advanced, and there's still so much to uncover."